Yo, what's up, everybody? It's Pikel. So, LPL starts Monday morning, and I want to get my thoughts out on the LPL before everything gets started. So, basically, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the futures odds, and I'm just going to go from top to bottom, talking about the different teams, and I'll try to be pretty fast about it. Before I get into the teams themselves, I just want to give some justification for why my stuff might seem different from other people. So there's a couple reasons for that. First of all, I am looking for different things probably than other people who make these sorts of videos. I think that in the beginning of the season, the most important thing is going to be teams who can play Gwen and Viego, because that's going to put a lot of additional stress on the draft until that gets banned. Then we also have to think about, extremely good Lee Sin players, because that seems to be a very important champion right now, especially in the jungle. Anybody can play at top and mid, but the junglers that can play Lee Sin are going to be the difference makers. And then last but not least, teams with very strong AD carries typically do better in the summer as teams slow down and scaling options become more popular in the bot lane. That's just generally what we saw. That's part of the reason why I was so high on Sunning last summer. So that's basically just something to keep in the back of your mind while we make this video. So first up, we have FPX. And I'll get the previous splits standings in front of me. So FPX was 11-5. That was 5th place during the regular season. And then in the playoffs, they lost in the finals. And FPX started playing much better in the playoffs. So let's talk about their roster and how they might fit into the new meta that we're going to see. I think that Nogri, obviously a very good top laner, should be able to play Gwen and Viego, probably plays Lee Sin, probably plays every single champion that you would need to play in the top lane. Bo, I'm not sure if Bo is coming back. Bo is suspended until July 1st, 2021. Okay, so he's not going to be there in the beginning of the season, but the beginning of the season is actually when Tion's going to be at his most powerful. I'm sure that they play Viego, which will probably be a relatively common jungler if it's not being banned out. And then Tion's also a very good Lee Sin player. I'm pretty sure that Tion has a Lee Sin skin from when they won Worlds. Do&B can play everything. LWX and Crisp are a pretty good bot lane. FPX is kind of the exception to the rule. They're not really a bot lane focused team. So when we get into the later part of the season and teams are focused more on scaling, it's really up to Do&B to match that scaling. Like LWX will as well, but Do&B adds another dimension to FPX that is not exactly the straightforward type of League of Legends we'll see from most other teams. So FPX, good team. Can't really bet them at plus 250, but they're a good team and will be very important for DraftKings. Next up, we have Top Esports. So with Top Esports, I'm not sure what's going on with 369 and if he'll continue to be the starter in the top lane. But this is going to be the perfect car sub meta. It's also going to be a very good meta for Knight. Jackie Love and Zhuo, they played pretty well last season. One of the more talented teams in the world. They obviously were a little bit disappointing in the playoffs when they lost to EDG and RNG in back-to-back matches. But like I said, we're going to get into a meta where if Lee Sin is popular, it's Karsa's best champion. That means that if you're a red side team, you have to ban Gwen, Viego, and Lee Sin against Top Esports, which is going to give other priority picks over to Top Esports, which is obviously very good. There's not much more to really say about them. Everyone knows that they're a good team. I would expect them to be one of the top contenders for the spring title. And Top Esports is actually another team where the mid laner is generally more important than the AD carry. Jackie Love can kind of be exploited sometimes with overly risky plays, and just focusing on Jackie Love can be a good strategy for a lot of teams. The only question mark with Top Esports is the top lane situation. So once we get a better understanding of that, you'll have an easier time projecting how they'll do during the split. But that's basically it for Top Esports. Not really anything to say about them. RNG, obviously, RNG is very good. Xiaohu, great player. One of the best players in the league, for sure. Best top laner in the league at this point, for sure. I think. So it's funny how at the beginning of last season, I know there was a lot of uncertainty around Xiaohu being able to be a top laner and understanding matchups and stuff like that. But when you're as good as Xiaohu is, it just really doesn't matter. This is going to be a very interesting test case, because in the summer, generally you get tanks in the top lane, especially when we get closer to Worlds. You'll get tanks in the top lane, teams just trying to go even and then playing around their bot lane. RNG will always have the option to kind of just dominate top lane as well, because there are a lot of top laners out there who just can't really play carry champions to the same level as others. So players like Xiaohu and the Shy specifically are the two that I have in mind as the biggest beneficiaries of that. But that's basically it. You don't need me to tell you how good RNG is. I don't think you're going to bet them at plus 275. It's just not worth the amount of time that your money's going to be hanging out there. So again, RNG, I really wouldn't be shocked if their regular season was less convincing than their playoffs run. I could see them taking a small step backwards against some of the other top teams. I'm not sure how Wei is going to fit into this meta, or Cryan really for that matter. This might end up being a team that can't utilize Viego to the same extent that other teams can. That'll be interesting to watch. So that would be my one concern with them. But it's not going to stop me from playing them. They're going to be a very good team. I'm not playing them at plus 275. Next up is EDG. Flandre, Xiaoshang, Jai, Scout, Viper, Mako. EDG had a good year last year. Viper had a great year, or a great split. I think that the thing with Viper is that as the season goes on, Viper is going to become more and more important. This is the kind of team that is in the Sunning mold from last year, how they kind of just caught fire and made a run at Worlds. I want to believe in EDG, but I think plus 400 is way too high. I definitely don't think they're as good as the three teams ahead of them, and probably one or two of the teams behind them. But they'll be a top 6 or 7 team, most likely going to make playoffs. I need to see what the other teams look like, if there are other moves that I wasn't paying attention to. But EDG, strong team overall. Don't really have anything else. I mean, if you've watched my videos, you know what my opinion on a lot of these teams are. So it's really just trying to find the new spots. So Zoom, Kanavi, Yagao, Loken. Oh no, Loken's gone, right? No. Xie left. Never mind. That was the mid laner. So Loken and Lu Mao. Do they actually have a? It should be Loken. So JDG is going to be one of the biggest beneficiaries of all the meta changes. I think that JDG at plus 1,000 makes a lot of sense. That's a bet that I would definitely be interested in. I've always been high on JDG. Their performance didn't really help that line of thinking last year or last split, but I still believe in JDG being a very good team. So I would gladly bet them at plus 1,000. I think that Kanavi is one of the best players in the world, the best jungler in the world, just pure talent-wise. We'll see if they're able to have a better split than last season. It was a little rough at times. I don't think a lot of the issues were from them, though. That's basically that for JDG. Next up is Sunning. Obviously, I'm a huge Sunning fan. Bin, very good top laner, high quality top laner that can also carry the game. So if Gwen gets through a draft, if Viego gets through a draft, I'm sure he'll be able to play both. to a very high level. And Bin is also the kind of player who will have counters ready and embrace that carry versus carry matchup, which is a lot of fun to watch. S of M still a very good jungler, high variance jungler, great team player, and always has a very diverse champion pool. Another player that will definitely play all the new champions immediately. And again, has a lot of counters. That's one of my favorite things about Sunning is they're not afraid of picking counter matchups and looking for draft advantages from a different perspective. And then of course Huanfeng and An. Huanfeng is really the core of this team. Angel played really well during their Worlds run, but Huanfeng is the heart and soul of this team. If Huanfeng is in a spot where they can carry the game, they will always have a chance to win. I think that maybe that kind of gives me makes me overestimate them a little bit, especially after their Worlds run. Maybe it's a better angle to be against them because you just think to yourself will they be able to follow up that performance from last year? Because I was always somewhat skeptical of Angel. Maybe On just doesn't have the same ability as Sword Art, but overall I think On had an okay split last year for someone in their first split in the LPL. They were 10-6, pretty good. And then in the playoffs, they lost to Top Esports. You can't really blame them for losing to Top Esports. That's basically it for Sunning. I wouldn't bet them at plus 1600. I don't think they have the. I wouldn't trust them to make a run in the playoffs. I wouldn't bet a future on them. I would probably play them on DraftKings and try to get exposure to them that way. Team World Elite. Okay, so Breathe had a good year last year, or a good last split. Beishang, very good jungler. Mole, I'm a huge fan of Mole. I think that this is a big upgrade for them in the mid lane, as long as they actually play. In the bot lane, they... Wait, what? Did somebody name change? Okay, yeah, missing name changed to Elk. Or Jiaomeng. Sorry. Jiaomeng name changed to Elk. So they are still a good team. They have pretty good upside. I like the plus 2500. World Elite is another team that I would consider playing. I really do think Mole is a big upgrade. Mole was good even when V5 was bad. So that's the kind of spot where I would want to be high on Mole, especially in the beginning of the season. That should help World Elite a lot because their mid lane has always been somewhat questionable. Not really much more to say than that. I mean, I could see World Elite getting to the semifinals for sure. Do I think they could win? I kind of do. I do love Beishang. The only issue is we've seen so many great things from other teams that it makes it a little more difficult to put your entire trust behind World Elite, but they feel like the kind of team that's been building towards this kind of crescendo for a year and a half, so I could definitely see World Elite putting it all together. That's a team that I'll want to be high on, but it's going to be a very difficult team to carve out an edge in DraftKings because they're already a popular team because their play style is very good for DraftKings. Okay, Invictus Gaming, another one of my favorite teams from China. Their play style is just so much more fun than most other teams. In the playoffs, they crashed out against Rare Atom in the first round. I was definitely on Invictus Gaming in that spot. I love the Shy. I love Rookie. Their other spots really just don't. Their bot lane specifically, it's really tough to trust their ability to carry a game consistently, especially against a lot of these other bot lanes, which are just better bot lanes. So in order for Invictus Gaming to make a run, they need Shun to play well again, and then they need their bot lane to get it together. if you get a big split out of like Wink, like if Wink just is their AD carry for the entire split, then they'll be in a much better spot. Not sure who is going to be starting in the other roles though. Just it's always a risk, and I generally just don't like those risks and picking teams with those kinds of risks, especially for a futures bet, because there's just additional variables. So I'm probably going to play a lot of Invictus Gaming, and I like them. I would not bet on them ever, I don't think, for season long. Well, for the championship. Rare Atom is a team that I'm just lower on than everyone. I don't like Rare Atom. I don't like their playstyle. I understand that iBoy is a player that everyone wants to be able to play around, but we just really haven't seen that consistently. Jungle's always been not great for them. The bot lane is overrated in my opinion. Fofo is overrated. Just this is a team that I want to be against the entire year, so I wouldn't be betting on them, and I'll actively be picking against them if I think that an underdog has a chance against them. That's just the truth. LNG. Ale and Mokuya, they've gone back and forth between those two. Neither player has been great. Tarzan is a very good player. Icon is a player that I like a decent amount. Light and Elwandi, they had some good matches, but it's really difficult to trust them. The only way that LNG is going to really significantly outperform their expectations is by Tarzan having like the split of his life. I don't think they'll be very competitive in the playoffs. It'll be difficult for them to make the playoffs. Actually, how many teams make the playoffs? 10 teams? So it should be 10 teams. And they were 10th last year. They'll be competing for playoffs, but it's not a sure thing. Tarzan's very good though. The only reason why I would support this team is for Tarzan. So that's really what we kind of have to watch out for, is how good is Tarzan right now. Billy Gaming, another one of my favorites. I absolutely love Zika. I love aiming. PP God is a good player. Was overrated on V5, and then people jumped off the ship when they started playing worse. But PP God was always a very strong player when they were successful, and was one of the reasons why they were successful. So I know it's one thing to say, oh well, V5 wasn't as good last split, so PP God was probably not as good as we thought. And I do think that he was worse than what people thought, but now it's been an overcorrection in the opposite direction. So BLG at plus 15,000, do I think that they could win Summer? Very low chance, but you're probably getting fair, not even fair odds. I think that they're probably better than plus 15,000. So I would be willing to bet on Billy Gaming. You throw $20 on them and you'll make thousands of dollars. That sounds like a lot of fun to me. So that's something that I will genuinely look at just for fun. A for fun bet. But I think BLG should be a lock to make playoffs. The one issue that I've always had with BLG is their coaching staff. I'm not sure if they made any changes to coaching. Yeah, I'm not sure if they've made any other changes to coaching. That would be the biggest thing for me. If they start making changes to their coaching staff, then I'd be all in on BLG. Not that they're going to definitely win or anything like that, but they would be much better than everyone thinks. Oh my god, Shadow actually is going to get a chance. Is Shadow going to start for them? That's amazing. I'm so happy. This is a perfect meta for Shadow. That'd be so cool if he actually plays. So Fearness, I don't know anything about Fearness. Cult? Oh, it's Cult. Okay. Cult's okay, but not very good. Not a difference maker. I like Shadow a lot. I think that Shadow will ultimately win that spot. Shie is a good player. Kramer is not a good player anymore. I don't like Kramer. Mark is okay. So Kramer and Mark are an okay bot lane. It'll really come down to Shadow and Xie being able to carry in the mid game. So it'll be interesting to see how they match up against other teams. I think that Shadow really didn't get a fair shot for Mad Lions, and I know El Yoyo looks good, but I'm pretty sure that Shadow is still just a better player than El Yoyo. But we'll see how they do in the LPL. That's exciting. I'm happy that they're back. That'll be cool to watch. What a story that would be if Shadow ended up making it work in China. Kramer's gonna hold them back though. I really don't like Kramer at this point. Kramer was always a very solid AD carry and is probably still a solid AD carry, but they're not a difference maker at this point in their career. Ultra Prime. So this was E-Star. ZS, I think, will be a lot of fun to watch. I think with a split under their belt, they'll be able to be more aggressive. They theoretically have the upside of a carry top laner. That's how they want to use them. Hacker is an okay player, not a great difference maker. Irma is not someone I've been very impressed by. Xiaoko Bao, don't know anything about them. SMLZ, I'm not an SMLZ fan. I don't think SMLZ is very good. And then Xiaoxi is a very good player. So, yeah, I don't want SMLZ anywhere near my team. So that kind of sucks for them. Probably another tough split for Ultra Prime and for ZS. They're not going to be able to get the most out of ZS in this situation. TT, they've kind of had like a ridiculously large roster for the entire time. So Longxi and Chalizi don't really care. Xiaopeng don't really care. Captain, I'd rather have Captain playing than Twyla. Samdy's okay. Patch, don't know anything about Patch. Probably just a team that I'll stay away from. I don't think you'll get many good spots to play them. You'll just only be interested in you won't even consider them unless it's against like Ultra Prime, Rogue Warriors, V5, or OMG, and even in those spots they're not locks. So just gonna move on from them. Don't care about them. New Aki. Aki is the guy that looks like terrifying on stream, right? Hopefully Cream is better than Wooming. Wooming just not very good. Eric and Cold. We're decent for a lot of the split. Did they just bring in another 80 carry? Kane joins from Academy roster. I'm not sure who they're even playing. So this is another team you would never bet them to win the split, and I just don't know enough about most of those players. 8917. Don't know anything about them. Haro is a player that I like a lot. Just a lot of fun to watch. Betty, Zwuji, Kaishwan, Chow Chow. They are going to be a team that's good to play against in DraftKings, and I think that this is going to be a good meta for Haro. Haro is a carry player, so there will be spots to play them throughout the season, but it'd be shocking if they made the playoffs, in all seriousness. And then we have V5. Don't know them, don't know them, don't know them. Don't really care about Uniboy. I guess, are they going the super young direction? Maybe that's what they're doing. They're not going to be competitive this year, I would think, unless one of these players ends up being an absolute beast. And that will be, I was saying this in one of my other videos, when there's a player who comes in and is just like outrageously talented, you'll figure that out like within two matches. So we'll know fairly quickly how good some of these teams are. So overall, I think I'm about where the market is on FPX, Top Esports. I'm probably a little bit lower on RNG than everyone else is, especially after their performance at MSI. I think people will overrate them. They're obviously still a very good team, but they'll be overrated. EDG is overrated probably at this point, but their playstyle does fit into what typically does well in the summer split. JDG is underrated right now. Kanavi is one of the best junglers in the world. I think that they'll take a step back in the right direction. Suning is probably overrated in my mind. Like, I'm probably overrating them, just because I love their roster, and I just think their players are really good, and their willingness to kind of draft differently from a lot of other teams is a huge benefit. Team World Elite, I think, is a very good team. They have a chance to be a top 4 team for sure. I like all their players. Invictus Gaming, the name recognition is really what keeps them up in like the plus 2,800. If they hung it any higher, they'd probably get slammed by people. So then, like, in the off chance that they actually do win the split, the books would get killed, because Invictus Gaming is still one of the most popular teams in China. I love the Shy, I love Rookie, but their bot lane questions are just too much for me to want to bet on them to win the split. Rare Atom is a team that I'm just not a fan of in general. Don't really like their playstyle, and I think iBoy is overrated. LNG, I love Tarzan, just not good enough though as a roster. Billy Gaming, I'm a huge fan of Billy Gaming. LGD, I'm really happy that Shadow's getting another chance. That'll be a lot of fun to watch, but you can't feel good betting them in any situation. I think Billy is much better than all the teams that are below them at this point. I think Billy is also better than LNG, probably better than Rare Atom, and will be competitive with Invictus Gaming, competitive with Suning and EDG. I think EDG is probably way too high up there. There's definitely a good chance that EDG is as good as these other top 3 teams, but they should probably be closer to the somewhere between JDG and Suning. Yeah, Billy is probably the team that I'm the most different on from everyone else. It really does come down to coaching. So Ultra Prime, TT, OMG, Rogue Warriors, and V5. I don't like any of those rosters. I don't like most of the players on those teams. So that's really all I got. I know it's really just a cursory glance at the league, but I can't help but feel the way that I do about these teams. I've just seen enough League of Legends to know who I like and who I don't like, and some years that'll be good for me, and some years that'll be bad. But I'm forced to speak the truth to you about how I feel. So if you disagree with me, complain in the comments or something. But thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you later.